Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Hmm.
Today, we're going to be looking at coconut oil.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah, you sent us a really fascinating set of sources about it, some of them even in Chinese.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's really interesting to see that kind of global perspective.
I know, right? And it seems like there are a lot of really strong opinions about coconut oil out there.
Yeah. You see everything from people calling it a miracle food to others warning about potential dangers.
Exactly. So that's what we're going to be trying to figure out today. Like, what does the science actually say?
Yeah, we're going to break it all down.
Exactly.
So to start off, maybe we could just talk about what coconut oil actually is.
Yeah, that's a good place to start.
So coconut oil, it comes from the meat of mature coconuts. And one thing that makes it kind of unique is that it's almost all saturated fat.
Oh, wow. So that's what we normally think of as the bad kind of fat, right?
Right. We're always told to limit saturated fat.
But here's the thing. The saturated fat in coconut oil, it's mostly made up of these things called medium-chain fatty acids, or MCFAs.
MCFA.
Yeah, and these are different from the long-chain fatty acids that you find in most other fats.
Yeah.
And it seems like our bodies might actually process them differently.
So is that part of the reason why some people think that coconut oil could be good for weight loss?
Yeah, that's one of the ideas.
Interesting.
Like some of the research suggests that MCFAs, they're absorbed and used for energy more quickly.
Oh, okay.
So they might boost your metabolism a little bit and
Yeah.
potentially help with weight loss.
So wait, are you saying that I could maybe lose weight by eating more fat?
Well, it does sound kind of counterintuitive. Right?
Yeah.
But that's what some of the studies are suggesting.
Wow.
And there's also this specific type of MCFA called lauric acid that's found in coconut oil.
Okay.
And lauric acid's pretty interesting because it's thought to have some really strong antimicrobial properties.
Oh, wow. So is coconut oil like a weight loss aid and a germ fighter?
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
I
There's
just-
still a lot more to unpack here.
Right.
But those are definitely some of the potential benefits that we see highlighted in these sources.
Okay, so let's talk about heart health then.
Yeah, heart health.
Because this is where it gets kind of confusing for me.
Yeah.
Because coconut oil is high in saturated fat, which we're always told is bad for our hearts.
Right.
But then some of these sources are saying that it could actually be good for your heart.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah, how does that even work?
Well, one of the key things is understanding the difference between HDL and LDL cholesterol.
Okay, HDL and LDL.
Yeah, so HDL is the good cholesterol.
Okay.
You can kind of think of it like tiny garbage trucks going around and cleaning up the bad LDL cholesterol in your arteries.
Okay.
And some of the research suggests that even though coconut oil is high in saturated fat, it might actually help to raise your HDL levels.
Oh, wow.
So you might end up with a better ratio of HDL to LDL.
Okay, that is kind of surprising because I always thought that saturated fat was just bad for you no matter what.
Yeah, it's not quite that simple.
Okay.
And that's why we need to look at all of this research.
Right.
We need more studies to really know for sure what the long-term effects of coconut oil are on heart health.
Yeah, so it sounds like the jury is still out on that one.
Pretty much.
Okay, well, what about those antimicrobial properties that we were talking about earlier?
Yeah, that's another really interesting aspect of coconut oil.
Yeah.
There are studies showing that lauric acid can be really effective at fighting off bacteria and fungi and even some viruses.
Oh, wow. So it's like a natural disinfectant.
In a way, yeah.
So you could even use it like instead of mouthwash then.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great example.
Okay.
A lot of people are looking for natural alternatives to these kind of chemical-laden products.
Right.
So coconut oil could be a good option there,
Yeah.
if further research backs that up.
Okay, so we've got potential weight management benefits, maybe some heart health benefits, and this whole germ fighting thing going on. Is there anything else that these sources talk about?
Oh, yeah. There's actually quite a bit more.
Okay.
There are claims about benefits for your skin and your hair and even for brain function and bone health and blood sugar regulation.
Wow. Okay, so it's like a wonder food.
Well, let's not go that far just yet.
Okay.
But there's definitely a lot of interesting potential here.
Yeah, the brain health thing is really fascinating to me. Like,
Yeah.
some of these sources are saying that coconut oil could actually help your brain to function better.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, right?
Yeah.
Like the idea is that the MCFAs in coconut oil, they can be converted into these things called ketones.
Ketones.
Yeah, and your brain can actually use ketones for energy.
Oh, wow.
So this could be really helpful for people with conditions like Alzheimer's disease, where their brains aren't able to use glucose as effectively.
Oh, wow.
So coconut oil could potentially provide an alternative fuel source.
Ah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really exciting research.
But I guess we still need more studies to know for sure, right? Absolutely. These are early findings, and we need more research to really understand the long-term effects of coconut oil on the brain.
Okay, so it sounds like coconut oil has a lot of potential benefits,
It does.
but I'm sure there's another side to this story too, right?
Right. You're exactly right.
Okay,
It can't all be good news.
right.
There are some important considerations that we need to talk about as well.
Okay, well, let's dig into those then.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we've talked about all these potential benefits of coconut oil, like weight loss, maybe some heart health benefits, and the whole germ fighting thing. But now I'm curious, like, are there any downsides that we should be aware of?
Yeah, even with all the potential upsides, we still have to remember that coconut oil is high in saturated fat,
Right.
even if it is a different type than what we usually find in like processed foods and stuff.
But didn't we talk about how the type of saturated fat in coconut oil might actually be good for cholesterol?
Right, and that's where it gets a little tricky. Because while some studies do suggest a positive impact on cholesterol, other research suggests that eating too much coconut oil could still have some negative consequences for your heart,
Oh, okay.
especially for people who already have some existing heart conditions.
So it's not like a free pass to just eat as much coconut oil as you want.
Right, moderation is key.
Okay.
Most of the sources that we're looking at, they recommend keeping your daily intake to around 2 tablespoons or so.
Okay, that makes sense. Are there any other downsides mentioned in the sources?
Yeah, one thing that comes up is the potential for digestive issues if you eat too much coconut oil.
Oh, really?
Yeah, some people might experience like an upset stomach or diarrhea or bloating.
Okay, so even though it's natural, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to agree with everyone.
Right, exactly. Everyone's body is different.
Okay.
So it's important to listen to your own body and see how you react to coconut oil.
So start slowly.
Yeah, start slowly and increase your intake gradually and see how you tolerate it.
Okay, good advice. Anything else?
Another important thing to remember is that coconut oil isn't a magic bullet.
Okay.
Like, you can't just eat coconut oil all day long and expect to be perfectly healthy.
Right.
It's about the whole picture.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about a healthy diet, regular exercise, stress management, quality sleep. All of those things are important.
Right. It's not just about one single ingredient.
Exactly. Coconut oil might be a helpful addition to a healthy lifestyle, but it's not a replacement for those fundamental things.
Right. You can't just expect miracles from a single food.
Exactly.
Okay, well, I think we've covered the benefits and the downsides pretty well now, but what about some of those other claims that we were talking about earlier?
Oh, yeah.
Like the skin and hair benefits and blood sugar control and using it for oil pulling. Are there any specific examples from the sources about those?
Yeah, for sure. For example, you sent over a blog post titled Coconut Oil, a Natural Beauty Elixir.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
And it was all about the potential benefits of coconut oil for skin and hair care.
Yeah, and I've actually tried using it as a deep conditioner for my hair.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I have to say, it did seem to make my hair a little softer and less frizzy.
There you go, a real-life example.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people find that the fatty acids in coconut oil can be really good for moisturizing and conditioning the hair and scalp.
What about using it on your skin, though?
Well, there's that article you sent called Coconut Oil for Skin, Benefits and Risks.
Yeah.
And it suggested that coconut oil can be a good moisturizer for certain skin types,
Okay.
especially for people with dry skin.
Right. But it also mentioned that people with acne-prone skin should be careful because coconut oil can clog pores.
Right, exactly. It's a good reminder that even natural ingredients can have different effects on different people.
So you really have to pay attention to your own skin type.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, what about the claims about blood sugar control?
Well, one of the articles you sent was titled Coconut Oil and Diabetes, Fact or Fiction.
Okay.
And it talked about how the MCFAs in coconut oil might improve insulin sensitivity, which can help to regulate blood sugar levels.
Okay, so it could potentially be helpful for people with diabetes.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay.
And it also mentioned that coconut oil can slow down the digestion of carbohydrates.
Oh, okay.
So that can help to prevent those really big spikes in blood sugar after meals.
So it's like coconut oil is helping to smooth out those blood sugar levels.
That's the idea.
Okay. But of course, more research is needed, right?
Always more research.
And especially for people with diabetes, it's important to talk to their doctor before making any big dietary changes.
Absolutely. Always consult with a healthcare professional.
Okay. You mentioned oil pulling earlier. Is that the thing where you swish coconut oil around in your mouth?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and what's the point of that?
Well, it's actually an ancient Ayurvedic practice,
Oh, wow.
but it's becoming more popular now as a natural way to take care of your oral health.
Okay, so what's the thinking behind it?
So there was this blog post called The Benefits of Oil Pulling with Coconut Oil, and it claimed that oil pulling can help to remove bacteria and toxins from your mouth,
Oh, interesting.
which could potentially improve gum health and reduce bad breath.
So it's kind of like a natural mouthwash?
Yeah, you can think of it that way.
Okay.
And the idea is that the lauric acid in coconut oil has antibacterial and antifungal properties, so it might be really good for oral health.
Okay, so it seems like we've covered a pretty wide range of potential uses for coconut oil here.
Yeah, from cooking to beauty care to oil pulling to maybe even helping with certain health conditions.
It's pretty amazing, but I guess the big question is, how do we make sense of all this information?
Yeah, how do we cut through all the noise and figure out what this means for us in our own lives?
Right, because it's a lot to take in.
It is, and that's a really important question that we're going to explore in more detail after a quick break.
All right, so we're back, and we've covered a lot of ground with coconut oil. You know, we've talked about the potential benefits and the possible downsides and all these interesting ways that people are using it, but now I'm kind of wondering, like, where do we go from here?
That's a great question, and I think the main takeaway is that we need to approach all of this information, about coconut oil
Right.
or any health trend, really, with a critical eye.
Right, like it's easy to get caught up in the excitement and start thinking of coconut oil as like a magic cure-all.
Yeah, exactly. And as we've seen, it's just not that simple.
Yeah,
There's no one food or supplement that's going to solve all your health problems.
right.
And even though coconut oil does show some promise in certain areas, we have to remember that everyone's body is different.
Right.
So what works for one person might not work for someone else.
Yeah, so how do we actually figure out, what coconut oil means for us individually?
Well, first of all, listen to your body.
Okay.
Start slowly. Maybe try a teaspoon or two a day and see how you feel. And if you notice any digestive issues or any other negative effects, then you might want to cut back.
So it's kind of like a personal experiment?
Exactly. You're experimenting to see how your own body reacts.
Okay.
And of course, if you have any underlying health conditions or if you're taking any medications, it's always a good idea to talk to your doctor
Right.
or a registered dietitian before you make any big changes to your diet.
Okay, that's a good point. We often hear these like general recommendations about different foods.
Right.
But it's so important to remember that everyone is different.
Absolutely.
And I guess beyond just listening to our bodies, we also have to be careful about, where we're getting our information from.
Oh, yeah, that's crucial.
Like we can't just believe everything we read on the internet or hear from our friends.
Right.
So are there any like red flags that we should watch out for when we're trying to figure out, what's true about coconut oil or any other health trend for that matter?
But definitely one of the biggest red flags is when a source makes these really big claims, like saying that something is a miracle cure or that it's going to solve all your problems.
Oh, yeah, like if it sounds too good to be true.
Exactly. It probably is.
Okay.
And another red flag is when a source relies too much on anecdotes or testimonials.
Right.
Personal stories can be really powerful,
Yeah.
but they don't necessarily reflect everyone's experience.
So we really need to look for scientific evidence.
Right. Look for sources that cite reputable studies that have been published in peer-reviewed journals.
Okay.
And even then, one study doesn't always tell the whole story.
Right.
You want to look at the body of research as a whole.
So I guess the big takeaway here is that there's not really a right or wrong answer when it comes to coconut oil
Yeah, it's more about being informed and listening to your own body.
and making choices that are right for you.
Exactly.
Well, this has been a really fascinating deep dive. I feel like I've learned a lot about coconut oil. And to our listener, thank you so much for sending in all of these really interesting sources. It's clear that you put a lot of thought into this.
Yeah, it was a great collection.
And we're really curious to see what you'll send us next.
Yeah, what's the next deep dive going to be?
We can't wait to find out. So until then, happy exploring, everyone.